Hello, everyone. A very good evening and good afternoon and good morning for all those who have joined us online and in person. I welcome you to the 2024 Planetary Health Summit and 6th annual meeting hosted by Sunway University and Planetary Health Alliance at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm Dr. Hina Shan. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Public Health, NUMS Institute of Advanced Studies and Research, National University of Medical Sciences, which goes with the initialism NUMS and is situated in the Twin Cities of Pakistan. We all are gathered here at the FAM Summit, and today's side event, which we have brought to this summit, is Towards a Zero Waste Society. This side session highlights the roles and responsibilities of different societal groups in moving towards sustainable waste management practices and is aligned with the conference's theme, that is from evidence to action, confronting reality. As you all know, we are gathered here to bridge the existing gap between human, environment, and society for a resilient planet. Zero waste management is now being promoted as one of the most effective solutions to tackle the problem of huge amounts of waste generated annually by consumption-driven society. It has become a huge concern globally and is one of the major contributors to pollution and climate change and a hazard for global and planetary health. Transitioning towards a zero waste society demands change in policies, as well as change in knowledge, perception, practices, and behaviors in all stakeholder groups at individual and collective levels. So this session consists of presentations from guest speakers, including leading experts on the zero waste from academia, as well as those who have experience of implementing zero waste practices in different contexts. Next slide, please. So today's agenda is as follows. We'll have zero waste within business and industry by Dr. Atiq Zaman, and then zero waste within the community by Dr. Jane Yu. Zero waste in healthcare sector would be covered by Dr. Aman Karim, and zero waste and role of academic institutions by Dr. Adeela Bashir. Next slide, please. So we have with us the very honorable Dr. Atiq Zaman. He's a leader in sustainability and circular economy. Next slide. He's an associate professor at Curtin University, specializes in circular economy and zero waste practices. He's a member of the UN Council of Engineers for the Energy Transition, independent advisor to the UN Secretary General, Curtin Node Leader, Australian National Environment Science Program on Sustainable Communities and Waste Hub. Also, Circular Economy Theme Lead for Curtin Institute for Energy Transition. He's a collaborator of Global South Nexus and promotes collaboration between Global North and South. He has co-authored Zero Waste, Reconsidering Waste Management for the Future by Routledge. I ask the very honorable Dr. Atiq Zaman to take the floor. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot for nice introductions. Maybe I quickly share my slide, unless you are doing that. Can you see my slide?
Can you view your slide, sir?
Yeah, so you can see my slide?
Yes.
And it is moving to the next one?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, thanks a lot. And thank you for inviting this excellent kind of session. So because I know I'm cautious about time, so maybe I'll just go quick of my presentation. I would love to have Q&A later on. I know like there's the end of all presentation that be Q&A session. So I would love to hear your criticisms, your enthusiasms, and also whatever you'd like to share in this space. So I'll go maybe quickly, if possible, to the sessions that I planned for today. So I'll talk about global waste crisis, because even we are talking about zero waste, I think there are so many kind of challenges we need to overcome. So I'll kind of touch upon on that, like what does the global waste issue that we have, then what are the zero waste means in terms of concept and principles, and I will bring kind of industry case study, and that is about electronic rickshaw, e-rickshaws, and also lead acid battery in Bangladesh, and how that as actually a good example. At the same time, what are the challenges that in that particular case study the industry is currently facing. So looking into the West, because sorry, I'm kind of in a presentation mode, so I cannot see your kind of part. So if you don't hear me, please stop me or make a noise. Otherwise, I have no clue where I'm at. Okay, so West, if you look into the West in human history, I think it is when we started our journey in on Earth. So that means like even there's a evidence in Paleolithic era where people live in nomadic time, like hunting, like animals for food or living in caves. There's a kind of archaeological evidence that the West is evident in those caves in 2 million years ago and so on. So that means like West is something that we are really dealing with very ancient time. And looking into what are the different waste management approach that we applied so far, these are the six in hierarchical order, like, but there's no like sequentially, like open dumping, for example, is one of the prime kind of way we kind of dealt with, like wherever we kind of create waste, we just dump it wherever the place available for us. And still in many part of the world, we still doing open dumping and littering. Landfill, and there's archaeological evidence like 3000 year BC in Greece. Actually, there's a formal landfill was used. The composting, even in Australia, we are trying to promote composting, but it was a common practice in China 2000 year BC. So it is really, really ancient technology or approach that we are talking about, but still applicable in this current time. And then, especially in Second World War, when the resource became really scarce, then we started to recycle and actually recover some of the material from the waste that we have. And then waste to energy, another type of technology that is more evident in European context, that started in later or early 90s or 2000, when actually to gain or energy from waste materials, especially for space heating in European countries, and now also available in other part of the world. Now, finally, we are talking about zero waste and circular economy. So given all the kind of approaches or technology that we have, we still haven't actually addressed waste management in that sense, because I believe that we are in waste crisis, because this is how I would portray. So why I think like we have global waste crisis. I'll put some of the facts. So please kind of bear with me in terms of like all the stats that I would be presenting here. So the first thing is like we, as he mentions, that we generate huge amount of waste. So we generate, like if you only consider municipal solid waste that is coming from our kitchen, we generate around 2.1 billion, 0.1 billion metric ton around the world. And the prediction is it would be $3.4 billion by 2050. Only municipal solid waste. Then we have construction and demolition waste, we have mining waste, we have commercial and institutional waste. So we are talking about huge volume of waste around the world. Yeah. And then in terms of the second challenges we have is like severe plastic pollutions. We, as particularly after COVID, I think we have significant impact on plastic pollutions. But if you look into plastic journey, it started in 1964, like because this is the time it became a mass scale kind of consumer product after 50, especially in the Second World War. And then, but it very few like years, like 70 years or so, it became 20 20-fold increase. And by 2050, like the prediction is like in the ocean, the way the marine pollution is happening, there'd be a lot more plastic compared to fish itself in the marine environment. So there's a lot of problem that we are kind of currently facing with the plastic, but there's a significant problem with microplastic. I have a particular slide that I'd like touch upon on that, but microplastic, one of the significant problem. And then in terms of like electronic waste, for example, only 20% of electronic waste we report, like what is happening, end of life electronic waste. 80% of the waste that you generate, it doesn't even have a clue how those electronic waste end up, whether it would be going to landfill or sent to other countries to manage and so on and so forth. So it's a really, really unregulated and unreported area when it comes to electronic waste. In terms of overall waste management, 85% of waste we manage through landfill. If you consider global waste, 85% we still relied on landfill. Yeah, and landfill generate methane gas emissions. So now, if you put as a methane gas source as a landfill, so you'll find landfill as third biggest emitter of methane gas after US and China. So landfills are one of the biggest emitter of methane gas, and which also kind of cause or and accelerate our global warming potential. So that's also another challenges. And as I said, like 85% global waste we recycle, we manage through landfill. Only 15% we recycle. Yeah, and out of those 15% that we recycle, the material that goes back to the system is only 7%, 7.2%. That's the global circularity. That means like all the resources that we use actually going like back in the system is only 7%. So 93% actually goes back in the some form of environment again and polluting our environment, and that has a huge consequences in terms of health and environment. So I'm going a little fast, so please let me know if you want to hear a little more. I'm happy to expand the discussion as well. So looking into those stats, so if you compare like what is our resource use and how much we consume and how we managed our end of life resources or waste, is like it's a really linear. So we call it take, make, dispose system. So we take resources, we make product, we consume, and after consumptions, we mostly send it to landfill. As I said, 85% of municipal solid waste goes to landfill. And one of the reason of this take, make, dispose system is planned obsolescence. So what is planned obsolescence? I term it like when manufacturer kind of make waste ready product. So it's mostly single use product, short lived product, where people needs to buy again and again because it's only single use form that you can use. That means like it's really, really waste ready. Fast fashion, one of the example, like you buy something in like in the our traditional market, the fashion that can change within months or in season, and actually it you maybe wore one times and then it became waste. So it's really, really waste ready type product that we call planned obsolescence, because that create GDP, that create more consumerism. So people would be buying more and more. So that means like manufacturer need to produce more frequently. And it was really, really popular during 1950s after Second World War. And because of the presence of plastic, for example, because that time plastic has various innovations in terms of and inventions in terms of different plastic types, and it gives us the single-use plastic use during that time. So that was so popular that Time magazine itself actually promote that through a living. Like you don't need to wash your plates anymore because you have single-use plastic plates, and you can enjoy your time. And now, after 50 or 70 years, now we are talking about plastic pollutions and how it is a problematic within the society. So you can sense that like how popular that plastic is, and still today, because if you look into different kind of product that is available in the market, there's plastic. And when this plastic actually discarded to marine environment, whether it would be in the landfill or in the marine like oceans and so on, it takes long time to degrade, even 100 years or more. And the problem even to degrade is like it became micro or nanoplastic. So it break down to smaller pieces and it became microplastic. And the now I think this is a even a difficult scenario is like when microplastic is actually coming to like a fish or food chain, even human bodies. Like, and then we don't know like what would sorts of impact that microplastic would have on our health. Yeah. So this is also kind of, I would say, unknown territory for us, like how microplastic would have this problem. And if you look into like how social values, cultural norms, and priorities have changed over time, like especially in pre-industrial and post-industrial era. In the pre-industrial era, we have scarcity of materials. That means like we have very limited materials, and in the post-industrial era, because of the technology, we have very accessibility to those materials. I'm not sure like whether you believe or not, sugar and tea actually regarded as a luxury item. So not everybody in the society, even in the early 1800s, sugar considered as a medicinal kind of use or cardamom, like as a spice and other type of item, not like the way we are consuming sugar today. It's like you can find sugar everywhere because there's a resource scarcity during that time. Now, because of the technology, it became like available everywhere. Similarly with tea and many other goods because of the technological development and so on. Another value shift is like need versus want. Nowadays, it is about want rather than whether I need a new version or new mobile phone or new type of fashion that is available in the market. So, and also, instead of asking ourselves as a consumer, do I need it? Rather, it's like, oh, I want that. Yeah. So that sort of kind of value change and cultural norms has changed over time. And also, if you look into durability and quality in the pre-industrial era, the product or service that we are talking about is more durable. So if you find your grandma's like cutlery and anything, that would be more durable compared to the currently available in the market in IKEA or in many other shopping malls, because products are not durable anymore. Because the more durable it is, that means consumer would be using more. As I said, it would be planned obsolescence, making more waste-ready product. So you just consume for a short time and you just maybe discard and buy a new one. So that's the lifestyle that we got. And also value shift from respect to nature. So in the pre-industrial era, there's a value system that adjusts to nature. In Australia, for example, we have First Nation people who lived in Australia for 65,000 years and so on. But the core principles for First Nation people in Australia would be care for nature. But that has shifted significantly in the modern lifestyle that we have. So that's a significant challenge or shift. And on top of that, there's a pursuit consumerism. So in terms of pursuit consumerism, there's different terminology that I used. For example, like advertisement, you already know, like there's a significant influence or exposure to those advertisements to buy new thing or repeated buying. And then influence of social media, it's also another kind of influence that we have to buy more. There's a called manufacturer demand. This is really interesting when like bottled water is a good example in different country where their tap water is perfectly fine. For example, in Australia, there's no issue with the tap water, but still people will be buying bottled water. The reason is manufacturer or retailer make in a way that it is needed, but basically it is not really needed. It's the demand that is like falsified. There's no demand for bottled water, but still millions of dollars of bottled water is selling in Australia and many other countries. Why? Because they manufacture the way it is like, okay, you if you buy it, it is safer, but still our tap water is still safe in that sense. And all those things are so embedded in our livings or lifestyle. As a consumer, if we feel like our identity is expressed by the goods we buy, like for example, if it is Apple phone or the cloth that we are buying and so on, so our shopping behavior identify ourselves. So this is another kind of embedded value within the current consumerism lifestyle. And there's also another kind of argument like shopping well-being, especially when we feel depressed and we do shopping, we feel good about it. All those things are kind of more value proposition that come from persuade consumerism, because the marketing mechanism in so strong to bias us or to influence us to actually consume more or shop more rather than asking, do you need it? And also on top of that, there's a greenwashing, like actually people or the company who would be claiming to be green, actually not green at all. So we need to shift that value propositions to, like with the first image here, like linear economy. This is mostly here, and we'd like to go to a recycling economy to recycle as much as possible. I would say we are not there yet. Even you are recycling 15% of the global resources and 85% send it to landfill. So we are not even the recycling economy. And now the third one is like circular economy or zero waste, where we would not actually wasted any sort of resources in the system. So with that in mind, so what that circular economy or zero waste actually put forward, we call value hill principles. Like every single supply chain in the value hill, like from the extraction of resources, manufacture, assembly, retail, and so on, we add value. Yeah, but what happens end of the as a user, whatever we are buying, like whether it would be our clothing or mobile phone or laptop, we get the best added value possible, like even the nice shiny package and so on and so forth. But what happens after consumptions, we actually deplete all the value. So in the circular economy and zero waste, the main purpose is like how can we retain that value in the system, and this is where we need to circulate with the value field the highest possible. So how can we reuse all the material or all the product that you are using? If we cannot reuse, how can we refurbish that? If we cannot refurbish, then remanufacture, and finally maybe we can be recycling. So recycling in the circular economy and zero waste is the bottom choice, rather than we can reuse, refurbish, or remanufacture out of those materials. And this butterfly diagram explains the same thing, but this is one of the common diagram that we use when you explain zero waste or circular economy principles, where in the left hand side it is talking about biological cycle or all the biological nutrient that we have in the system, and the right hand side is the technical material like all the plastic, metals, and so on and so forth. And how can we actually make sure that all the materials actually circle back to the systems as a raw materials? So that's the main goal or main principles of this butterfly diagram, that is the core of zero waste and circular economy. I will stop there. So this is the case study that I would like to share with you in terms of how industry is actually embedded to circular economy. Yeah, so this is one of the case study that I just came across recently. The Stanford University and Georgetown University in the USA with Pure Earth in Bangladesh, they're working on a lead acid battery industry in Bangladesh. And my contribution to this project was actually to looking into how policy actually reinforce some of the business proposition that Stanford University and Georgetown University is proposing. So whenever you see these logo like Georgetown or Stanford or Pure Earth, that means like those slides actually came from their activities. Otherwise, it would be more of my contribution to their project. And it is not necessarily that electric rickshaws or e-rickshaws in Bangladesh are doing or practicing circular economy in principles, rather than it is happening the way it is currently now. Just to give you the kind of maybe background is that electric rickshaw is very common in South Asia, particularly in Bangladesh. You can see like this sort of rickshaws around other places as well. And these rickshaws have like lead acid battery in it to run the rickshaws to move people from one place to other. So I'm talking about mostly like lead acid battery and how they become circular in that context. And the challenge is e-rickshaw is not formalized in the current system, and often it is banned. People kind of forbid to run in certain areas and so on and so forth. With that uncertainty, actually, the Home Minister of Bangladesh, they recently kind of defend the industry whole battery run three wheelers and named them as a Tesla of Bangla. The reason is like there are more those three-wheelers, electric three-wheelers in Bangladesh more than like Tesla itself, like there's $4 million. So why Home Minister would be defending that? I'll explain that. What are the role this e-rickshaw sector is playing in Bangladesh? So, for example, in socio-economic context, there are 3 to 4 million vehicle or e-rickshaws. It's, each of these vehicle actually use 5 to 6 different batteries, like lead acid batteries, and the lead acid battery itself is a $1 billion industry, but it is actually structured informally in Bangladesh. It's not like there's a not formal industry that is taking care, rather than more informal sector who recycle all the lead acid batteries in Bangladesh. And it employed a lot of people, like millions of people, and it contributed to the technology, because e-mobility is now really the next phase for any sort of mobility that you talk about, because it brings sustainability, and also it brings diversifications in the transportations, and also it contribute environmental kind of performance in terms of it reduce noise. It also potential for net zero transport, and also the recycling potential. As I mentioned, the lead acid battery in Bangladesh recycle almost 100% of lead acid battery, so almost it's a closed loop system. It's a zero waste system, but they cannot go zero waste because it's run by 70% of the lead acid battery run by informal sector, and with 70% efficiency. That means like 30% still a system loss in the system. And also it support government strategy, like reduce dependency on fossil fuel. There's a national carbon emission reductions, and also national vehicle target like 50% by 2050. So the role of e-rickshaws in Bangladesh is significantly high. But as I mentioned, this run by informal sector. For example, if you look into this e-rickshaw, and there's like all e-rickshaws would be producing batteries. Like one e-rickshaw have 5 to 7 different number of batteries. And what it happens end of life of these used lead acid battery, they would be separating like electrode, that is like mostly leads, and the battery case, and they would be smelting those lead again to developing new plates, yeah, and then they will be assembling for new batteries. So all this happening informally and with 100% recycling rate, like in Bangladesh. But the efficiency is 70%. That means like they're still losing 30% of the all lead that is coming here. So it is a really, really good case for closed loop or zero waste system. As I said, it is not done like intentionally, but it happens because the informal sector is doing it. The biggest challenge here you can see is like mostly done informally, really like low cost, like a pit system that people would be using informally. And in the bottom corner picture shows that there's a semi-formal system where they can use cylinder to recycle that, but mostly 30% only is doing in that semi-formal system, but mostly done by in that informal sector system that is shown in the top middle images. And the problem is all the leachate that is happening from those lead acid and the lead contaminations around the pit, like even the soil, even the water. But you can see people are actually like the children are swimming in that lead contaminated water, and also people growing food or lettuce in that lead contaminated soil. There's a huge significant impact, health impact, because of that lead acid battery and the pollution from this sector. So but also there's a technical challenge, like how those batteries actually performing, given that there's a significant efficient more improved batteries that is available. So that means like the because of the efficiency and lack of quality, those poor people who are actually running those battery are paying more for the electricity, or they need to drive those vehicles. That's a significant kind of challenges for those people as well. But if you look into like environmental consequences that is happening, is those purple color in the map, in the Bangladesh map, those are the area that informally people are recycling. And the study done by Stanford University and Georgetown universities, they have shown that there's a 6% point increase of termination of pregnancy because of the lead contaminations. So this is a significant health impact on the pregnant woman, as well as the 2 in 3 children in Bangladesh, around those area, has high blood level of lead poisoning, and that equate around 20% of country population has like high level of lead poison. So this is a significant environmental challenge, but at the same time, this is a very good example if you talk about zero waste. But you need to actually balance between what you can do informally and how can you bring healthy and safe environment. So this is a video I'm not share, but I'll share this slide so that you can see this video, what is happening in the ground. Okay, so Georgetown and Stanford University actually proposed 3 different business model, and I'll talk about some of the policy, like how to make those business model happen or successful in Bangladesh. The first thing is like there'd be loan for manufacturers with microfinance, so that actually they can more formalize the informal sector they have, so the all the informal recycling that is happening and making lead acid battery more zero waste in that sector. How can they make more formal system rather than informal system? That's the first business model. So the kind of loan for manufacturer to from microfinance system. The second business model is like they would be manufacturing a better quality of battery, and they would be leasing that battery to those the vehicle owner, so that that makes more sense. Like instead of buying those battery, they'd be leasing those battery for 2 years, 3 years, and so on. Or third business model is like they can swap between batteries, so that whenever you need a battery, you can swap system. Is another type of business model. Instead of buying or owning a kind of a battery, you just need the service, so that it can be based on lease model or swap model. So this is what Stanford University and Georgetown University proposed when they are done workshop in Bangladesh. So my role in that particular one to look into different kind of regulatory policy and find the loopholes and see how regulatory policy can support that sort of business model. And as I mentioned, like used lead acid battery is not about waste related topic, but it covers all sort of regulatory policies in Bangladesh. So it is related to waste management, including hazardous and e-waste. It is related to environment and public health. It is related to energy, because these lead acid battery take a lot of energy, 5% of national energy, to charge them at overnight. It is about transport or e-mobility. It is about how tax are imposed when it comes to export import. So tax, tariff, and benefit related policy is attached to it. Also, it is about green growth or green new industry, for example, e-mobility or e-industry and so on. It is about people who work in this sector, so it is related to labor, and also it is related to work health and safety. So it is, and on top of that, it is also related to international convention like the Basel Convention. So there's also international conventions or acts or rules or regulation needs to consider, and also that it is related to local government or municipalities. So after reviewing all the regulatory policies, like in Bangladesh, there's the Act, Rules, Guideline, and Government Order. These are the 4 different areas that the regulatory policies come from. So after reviewing all those regulatory policies, we identified that there are 4 kind of overarching kind of gaps in the regulatory policy to support the business model that Stanford University would have. The first one is like discrepancies in policy. For example, e-rickshaw is not recognized as a transport way like solutions, so that it is not part of Bangladesh Road Transport Authority. So it is not recognized. So any sort of electric vehicle policy that government is doing, e-rickshaw or is not part of that. So it's a huge gap in that sense. Battery from household is part of waste management, but battery from e-rickshaw is not part of that. So that's another challenges or discrepancy. And there's no minimum quality when you review the standard. So that's also gap. The lack of harmonization and integration, because all, as I mentioned, there's different regulatory body are attached to this sector, but there's no harmonization between different organizations or different regulatory bodies. Informal sector, as I said, 70% of the recycling that is happening in Bangladesh, they oversight totally informal sector. It is not is actually part of the formal recycling sector. They overlooked in the policy mechanism. And also there's a lack of monitoring and policy requirement. So this is my last slide. Sorry if I take a little bit of extra time. Sorry for that. So the key recommendation for to make the circular economy circular used lead acid battery in Bangladesh and make those business case even more successful is like we need harmonization and integration in terms of different regulation or policy that we have. We need to recognize and formalize informal sector and formalize with the formal sector that we have. And also enforce and monitoring system. That means all the regulatory body that we have in terms of compliance, safety, and the recycling that is happening. How can we reinforce their monitoring system? Consistency again, because the whole sector is unclear, like whether it is legal to run electric vehicle in Bangladesh, whether it is not illegal, and so on and so forth. That so the consistency of the messaging is very, very important. We discuss about public health, and we have seen that vulnerable women, particularly pregnant women and children, are also part of the workforce, which needs to be forbid or kind of prohibit in this sector. And also the business case that kind of maybe Stanford University or many other business case that is available for this sector needs to be fostered. So I will stop there. There are different resources like right hand corner in the bottom, the policy recommendation that I made. The presentation is based on that, so you can go for that. And also there's a book around it. So any questions I'll take maybe in the Q&A session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Zaman. It was a very enlightening session about system problems and the value health principle, the circular economy, and a very, very interesting case study, the use lead acid batteries and the challenges related to it. The one thing that would be probleming the ladies here would be shopping well-being. You kind of discouraged it. The retail therapy is very, very important to us, but definitely for planetary health, we need to adopt it. So our next speaker for zero waste within the community is Dr. Jane Gu. She's leading the change against plastic pollution. She's an associate professor at Sunway University School of Medical and Life Sciences, PhD in chemistry from the University of Malaya. She aligns with UN Sustainable Development Goals and discovered microplastic in edible sea salt, featured in the Star, the Petri Dish, and various websites. She has an international influence and is involved in community empowerment with her NGO, My Plasticology. She's empowering local communities to combat global plastic pollution. She has many awards: Outstanding Women in Science by Venice International Women Awards, Chennai, Bantam Ambassador since 2019, SSHN Scholarship for Young Researchers by the French Embassy in Malaysia. She has a huge research impact. Ladies and gentlemen, I now welcome Dr. Jane Gu, and I just want to tell her that it's such an honor and pleasure to have us here. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Almost evening already. Okay, my name is Jane. I'm from School of Medical of Life Sciences and Life Sciences, Sunway University. So my talk is not so difficult, okay? It will be easy one. I will share my stories and my fellow students' stories here, how they achieve a zero waste community. Okay, right. Did my Okay, so why do I care? I think the first day, one plenary speaker actually mentioned, why do we care? Why do I care? You know, what is the motivations behind myself? Okay, in 2019, myself and my labs found microplastic in edible salt. We sampled 12 brands of the salt from the hypermarkets. We bought 12 of them, and then we try to find whether is there any microplastics there. So why choose edible salts? The edible salts is an indication of marine pollutions. So we found microplastic. This is some publications in media. Okay, we talk about zero waste. Then we need to zero waste in the community. We need to understand what is the community waste here, right? Paper, okay, glass, plastics, in e-waste, metal, organic. So almost every day we generate food waste, the fabric waste, plastic waste. So these are my very favorite slides on single-use plastic. How many of you have bubble tea today? I know you have a lot of coffee and tea in the public paper cup just now. So these are all the single-use plastic waste. Some things that I would. These are some a very comic that is a bit funny to me. I wish that I have a single-use plastic life as well. It's just 20 minutes and then I can lie down on the beach and enjoy the sunshine. Right? Next. So all this plastic waste, food waste, we can compose it. But however, the plastic waste, only 9% they are get to recycle. So the rest are where is it gone to? Incinerated, just now we mentioned about the pyrolysis in burning, incinerations, regulated landfill, that is a sanitary landfill, right? And the one that not regulated are all done, 22%. So wherever they're done at the landfill, so generally landfill is just along the coastal. So when the wave come, and then all this plastic waste, all the waste will just float on the sea. Okay, the zero waste definitions, the conservations of all resources by the mean of responsible productions, consumptions, reuse, and recovery of all product, packagings material without burning them, and with no discharge to land, water, or air that threaten the environment. And so this is the definitions that I've taken from this website, the next one. Okay, so we should, this is the zero waste hierarchy here, 8.0. So we should focus on these three things: the rethink, redesign, next, reduce and reuse. I also will cover a little bit on the recycle and the composting as well. But how are we going to do it? So the rethink and the redesign. So this is a systemic change to move forward to close a loop model, right? Redesign of a system avoid needless. We don't really need it, but we still sell the plastic, right? Wasteful consumptions, actions that address the root cause of the current linear use of the material. Next one. So for example, next. So for example, this is a recent pictures that I took from my recent trip to Chiang Mai. This is a very, very popular Thai tea. The cup is actually made not for single use, but however, we are so addicted to the throwaway culture. We just drink and throw, and this is a convenient things. We want it convenient. So the next one. So I mentioned this is one touch and go is we use it very common in Malaysia. And this card is actually to pay the toll, but now we can pay something else as well. So I didn't comment because this card, 10 years will expire in 10 years. In every 10 years, we need to change a plastic card. But this card actually can be used, after 10 years. I made a comment there, because I like to do this also. But however, this customer service actually respond to the convenience of our user. Convenient, this is needless to me. Okay, next one. So the next one is to reuse and to reduce. So reduce is the measure taken to reduce the quantity and toxicity of the resources or product, packagings, material, as well as the adverse impact on the environment and human health. Reuse, because these two things is almost the overlapping, because we can reduce by reuse or refuse by reusing them. Actions by which product or component are used again for the same or similar purpose for which they are conceived. So the actions that support continued use of this product that retain the value, usefulness, and also the function. So I do it very common. very often, almost like everyday things. So this is what I posted on my Facebook and how I do. And I also educate the people surrounding me, people in my Facebook to do it as well. And I have my my students here, because I actually do every year we have students who conduct community service project. So I it's an instructions, but I don't deduct the amount if they don't follow, but they follow. It's not in the rubrics, but they do it. But if they don't do it, I will keep on nagging. I continuously posting in the group to remind them. So these are you will see their faces, Sherry and then Penny as well. So they went to the night market and then they pack their food in their own box container. So this is also one community service that we do project. So they sell this herbal egg. And then there's another way is to refill. But refill station is getting more and more. We get people we need to keep on talking about it and become more convenient, and most refill stations are available. Okay, the last one that I want to touch on is on the recycle and the compost. It is mechanically reprocessed into product or material, or biologically processed to return to the soil. So we do have a compost machine we used to. So Wizzy is here. So now this is her undergraduate's project. So now she is doing her master with myself and Dr. Jetty to determine all the bacterial microbial in the compost. This is a composting. So the research assistant from myself also won WWF Eco Champions doing this composting project together with myself. And we also have invited Prof. Jamila to be one of the KOL in this project. And then this is designed by students from School of Art. All right. And then these are some of the students' projects that they go to the community, the garden community. It's not our site here. So they do together with the public, the community. And then these are, other than the composting, right? So we recycle all this old cloth, the fabric as well. So these are all my students as well. So they send it to the cloth care, okay, cloth care. And then so this team is led by Kenneth. I think Kenneth is here, right? So they upcycle the old clothes, old t-shirts. So they are actually on the day itself, right? Because I was there, so actually there are a lot of Adidas or Nike clothes, and then they turn them into put back here. Okay, then the Windy is here, I think. So her team actually repurpose all this expired oil, and together with my colleague, Dr. Grace, this is an expired grapeseed oil, expired from the shelf life into soap. So other than we do it in the university, we also go to the kids center to teach them. We don't just limit to our university students. Okay, so beach cleaning is one. So after they clean up all this, pick up all the rubbish, then they segregate them into plastic, then some other container, then they send it to MBSJ, the local council. Okay, some recommendations from myself. Refuse is very important. Reduce, and by reuse, you reuse all your whatever the container that you do. When somebody redesign, maybe you can think the material actually redesigned for reuse, not as a single plastic you throw away. So you keep on doing, keep on influencing people to do it, the surrounding, reinvent the idea of recycling. So we need a localized waste solutions. So research collaboration on the multidisciplinary project is very important. And then perform some baseline study. So before you do all this project, then what is happening? Then you can make a comparison, and then so that you can measure the impact. And then behavioral change is very important. And then education's awareness is also very important. So last slide from myself. So zero waste reduce our climate impact. Correct? Do you all agree? So I think among the past 2 days, we keep on hearing climate change impact. I think I'm not the last one. So I have a project together with my PhD students, Hina. So I'm looking for collaborations. So if you have in the university that you have students who use a lot of single-use plastic in the lab, okay, in the lab. Because I work on the community plastic, everything, so I want to touch on the lab, and the next one will be the healthcare, okay? So please contact me, right? And last one, you can connect with myself in LinkedIn, and we can talk more after this. Thank you very much. I will pass it back to Dr. Hannah.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Jane. Such remarkable examples and your engagements, students' engagements and community engagements, and such good practices. We all would like to follow them. You have set an example. Thank you so very much. So next in line is Dr. Aman Karim. He would be talking about zero waste in healthcare sector. He's bridging the academic and environmental stewardship. He's an associate professor in the Department of Biological Sciences, National University of Medical Sciences, and is a visiting professor at the Institute of Biological Sciences, Washington State University, USA. He has research focus on medicinal plants and natural products, balancing teaching, research, and environmental initiatives and contributing to academic excellence and environmental responsibility. He's championing environmental stewardship and zero waste. His collaborative efforts with colleagues to promote clean and healthy nation are remarkable, engaging communities in Pakistan in the vision of environmental sustainability. He has joined us online, and it's very, very late in the state of Washington right now. I am extremely thankful to Dr. Aman for taking out time to join us. Dr. Aman, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sure.
All right.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone there. Almost it's evening there. Thank you very much, Dr. Hina, for the introduction. I'm really grateful to Dr. Adeela for organizing this very important session for all of us. And then thanks to the FAM organizing committee for this wonderful event hosting in Malaysia. My lecture will be, not lecture, my overview on the zero waste healthcare, which is a much less topic, but is a very important topic. I am an advocate of the zero waste, not an expert like Dr. Atiq, and we have just begun at our university, at the National University of Medical Sciences. So we are beginners in this field. As you know, health and the environment are very much interrelated. Our health depends on the health of our planet. WHO says 24% of the global deaths are linked to the environmental conditions. And a healthier environment could prevent one quarter of the global disease burden. As with the globalization and human activity, there is increased connectivity, so as our responsibility and inclusiveness, including, I mean, other creatures living on this planet. We need to be respectful in our future generations, so that we can coexist. Our health can coexist with the health of other creatures on this planet. For this, we all have come and joined this session. Well, these animals you can see on this waste are truly wondering actually who are messing up this planet. And of course, the answer is very clear that we, the humans, are actually doing this. 99% of the time. And our activities of waste generation range from mining industry to agriculture and wastewater treatments to construction, and then our own whole household waste and our medical waste, which is part of a larger municipal solid waste. Our healthcare waste comprises of 1 to 2% of the total urban production. According to the WHO, it's produced more in the high-income countries than in the lower-income countries, possibly because of the higher rate of consumption of materials. The global state of healthcare waste, as reported in this paper in 2022, the highest rate of waste production is in the developed countries, mostly in the North America, where Canada and US. But the hazardous waste production is more in the Asian countries, and that reflects how they are actually helping to regulate their waste effectively, and the situation in the developing countries is quite alarming. The healthcare waste impacts all strata of the environment. The most exposed ones are the ones who are the health workers, patients, and waste collectors. And many other aspects of the environment are dangerously getting affected by the healthcare, unmanaged healthcare waste. And to our surprise, healthcare waste contributes around 4 to 5% toward the global emission. And this all messing up of the healthcare activity puts us in a position that we should also start thinking and be accountable for the waste we are, destructive waste we are putting outside to the environment. It's important to actually understand what is healthcare waste. WHO defines healthcare waste as a waste generated by healthcare activities, ranging from used needles, syringes, to the soil dressings, body parts, diagnostic samples, blood, chemical, pharmaceutical, medical, and radioactive waste. In short, it says this is a waste which is generated due to healthcare activities. If you see the composition of the healthcare waste, it's mostly non-hazardous waste, which is solid municipal waste. But this 15% is hazardous waste, which is infectious, pathological, and pharmaceutical radioactive waste. And the problem arises, we call this healthcare waste because of the mixing of this hazardous waste with the non-hazardous waste, which then totally become hazardous waste. The generation sites are the hospitals and many other places where health-related activities are conducted, including patients' home, generates a lot of healthcare waste. Healthcare waste, unlike other wastes, are regulated by guidelines and laws and principles, like at the global level, there's a Basel Convention for the transport of hazardous waste across the borders. Then we have Stockholm Convention, which talks about stopping the persistent organic pollutants. Then WHO has also some guidelines for the developing countries and other organizations of international stature, which also have their guidelines, like International Red Cross. We have then some regional organizations like EU and US and Canada have also as waste policy in place. We have national policies like we have in Pakistan, and at local level, we have provincial policies for the healthcare. These policies are all there, but the implementation is a problem in many of the developing countries. There are two scenarios where healthcare is managed globally. One scenario is in the developed countries where they effectively treat and manage their waste, reducing its hazardousness and reducing the waste which goes to the incineration or to the dumping. Where the majority of the world, where it is developing countries, the scenario is somehow like this, except few countries where waste is mixed collected in a mixed way and then stored and then transported either on-site disposal, which goes then to incineration, in few cases organic pit, open dumping, disposal and burning in of nature. The other one, which most of the time practiced in the smaller towns or in even larger urban areas, where the waste is simply dumped and burned outside. Burn outside. And the scenario third is actually all these efforts are being made to manage the waste. But this picture gives us a very important idea that in Bali, one of the environmental activists, probably a very concerned person, is actually removing waste from this river by using a net. And this gives us an idea that waste is usually mostly managed at the downstream, but it should actually have been in the first place not throwing waste into this stream. So there is no effort in globally that how waste is shipped to the consumers, to the users, which are ultimately also responsible for managing waste in different ways, paying for disposing it off, along with facing its hazards. So there is much effort needed at the upstream level, which I mean here is the producer level, at the supplier level, where they should produce materials which are clean and sustainable. So that part is missing, like the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is proposing an innovation along the material flow line, that innovation at every stage is required so that we can have sustainable waste management methods. With zero waste, when it comes to zero waste, Dr. Atiq actually highlighted it very comprehensively, but what we mean by zero waste is no burn and no bury. Zero waste discourages, prohibits any sort of burning and bury, where that uses the Zero Waste International Alliance, which is one of the prominent organizations propagating this philosophy. It uses 8-point waste hierarchy, where the upper level, it requires the upstream level that the product should be redesigned, rethink, reduced, and then move to the consumer level, to the user level, where it is supposed to be a downstream one to reuse, recycle, and compost and other sort of activities to effectively manage the waste. And the ultimate aim is of the zero waste is actually keep the material in circulation to save economy, environment, and human health. A few examples before I close. We have in the developed countries like in America, where I am currently living, the waste is effectively managed, but still the waste is not segregated with the university I am. It's just mixed waste in most of the time. And I also discussed with their environment society, but they are very effective in managing it ultimately. There are very few examples in the developing countries where institutions and businesses and communities have actually geared toward zero waste. The effort toward a zero waste healthcare, actually, one of the good examples is where WHO highlights also, is the Bir Hospital in Nepal. It's a public hospital. They have been able to reduce 80% of their hospital waste through recycling and reusing. They used a solution of no burn 3R solution, that's reuse, reduce, and recycle. And they came up with a very innovative ideas of easing of waste segregation at the source, because that's where the medical waste gets mixed with the other wastes. And then they have a treatment storage waste system where they store them, and then they take the biological wastes, which are like the cotton and gauze. They biologically treat them with earthworms, the food waste, they actually take it to as a biological treatment to produce some gas, which is also a burning, not allowed in the zero waste, but still it's minimizing its impact. And their biggest achievement is with some two American NGOs. They have been able to install a very large autoclave instead of incineration to autoclave all their hazardous waste before they are being sent for recycling and reprocessing. So this is one of their biggest achievement in going to no burn and little dumping of the waste. Another story we have is from the Aga Khan University Hospital, Karachi, Pakistan. This is one of the leading university in the region, which spans in the East African countries also. Aga Khan University is a role model in Pakistan when it comes to sustainability. They have introduced very innovative ways, like they have developed a carbon management tool, which is also available for the low and middle income countries to use this robust tool to plan their waste. There's a waste part in this. You can use it to track and control and make decisions based on this tool. They have also initiated a green lab where they use innovative methods to reduce laboratory waste. They became paperless in many areas, and they also use it for the resource and energy conservation. Another major initiative they did is they had a campaign in the campus to reduce 77% of single plastic use. They installed water coolers, which are a replacement for the bottled water. So almost all bottled waters are phased out. When it comes to their effort toward the burning, they installed mobile red bin introduced. That mobile red bin has helped them to reduce 40% of the waste going to incineration. It's a very big achievement for any university to cut the cost of incineration and polluting their environment, although their incineration is at par with the European standards of air emission. And these are the two stories. One is of the public hospital at the Nepal, and one is the private hospital in Pakistan, which are two examples which others can follow to initiate their own zero waste journey. So there are some steps which one can take to transition to zero-waste healthcare. It demands actually planning, commitment, and perseverance, because it's a long way to research and meticulously see what is possible, what is not possible. But generally, everywhere these few steps are conducting a waste audit is required of the facility, then developing policies, foster partnership with the waste management companies, create a culture of sustainability, because you have to educate people, give awareness, and then explore opportunities to phase out single-use items and introduce reusable materials. Some of the benefits which Dr. Atiq also mentioned, another speaker was also mentioning, zero waste actually reduces cost, creates job, and promotes green economy. Zero waste is a strategy that reduces toxins and plastic because it discourages burning and burying. It promotes extended producer responsibility, because the producer who sells you the item along with the package, but takes no responsibility of the waste they sell to you. In this zero waste system, the producer is responsible for the waste it produces. Zero waste also promotes safer products, protect our health, it saves energy and protects planetary health.
Dr.
Zero
Aman,
waste
we are running out of time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so thank you very much for this. I'm over the time. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. It's past midnight there. I'm really grateful for you joining in person, online, and thank you once again. Our next speaker is zero waste advocate and passionate zero waste, and she has a passion about zero waste advancement in Pakistan. It is Dr. Adeela Bashir. She is transitioning to environmental champion, a gynecologist turned medical educationist, assistant professor in the Department of Public Health, Health Professionals Education, NUMS. She's a founding member, NUMS Environmental Stewardship Committee, lead for Project Zero Waste at NUMS. She has dedicated more than 10 years in creating awareness of climate change mitigation and adaptation. She has a special focus on water conservation and zero waste minimization initiatives. She has constituted civic awareness committees across different cities in Pakistan, mobilizing communities and schools for environmental initiatives. I now welcome Dr. Adeela Bashir to take the floor.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. And I am sorry for being here so late. I know everybody's tired here, and Dr. Man and Dr. Atiq, it's midnight for them, I think. But in any case, thank you very much, Hina, for your kind introduction. So I'll just try to wrap it up as quickly as I can. After such amazing presentations, I don't have much chance in any case. So thank you again. And so I come from one of the most beautiful cities of Pakistan. So where I live it's a hill station, and its name is Abbottabad. But unfortunately, over last 15 to 20 years, I gradually saw, overgrowing refuse heaps and garbage dumps, destroying not only the beauty of my hometown, but also its environmental health. So initially, this was very, very disturbing. For first few years of frustration, then eventually, I took it up as, and disappointment. Eventually, this exposure became a trigger for me to take it up as a mission. So for last 10 years, I'm working on it as my social responsibility towards my city, towards my country, and towards our planet. And in my personal capacity mostly, but for last 4 years in my professional capacity as well. So I'll be talking about the role of academic institutions in our transition towards zero-waste society. And I'll be sharing our experience at NUMS. So, and the lessons we learned when we tried to implement zero waste over there. So, can I use this? Thank you. So our planet is in a state of crisis. So UN called it triple planetary crisis, which includes, as you all know better than me, climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. And according to United Nations Environmental Program, waste crisis or global waste, aggravates all of these aspects of triple planetary crisis. So we're all, as we have, at the cost of repetition, we have all been contributing towards this individually and collectively, whether knowingly or unknowingly. So we have become a consumption-driven throwaway society, as Dr. Jain and Dr. Atiq also mentioned. And this, coupled with overpopulation and industrialization and a collective lack of civic sense as a human race, has led to generation of excessive amounts of waste. So this waste not only leads to pollution-related problem, it also leads to depletion of the finite resources that we all share on the planet. So I am a medical doctor, and I am representing a medical university. So for me, the problems, the effects it has on human health and on the wildlife and on the planetary health, they are very, very important. Because it, again, as mentioned by earlier speakers, it adds to the global burden of disease and death. And it also, in addition to that, it affects wildlife disproportionately. Okay, so as what how many of you are medical doctors? Very few. Okay, so we come across this a little too frequently. So you know, the animals there are like human beings. They have all, you know, this they face all the problems that we do, except that they cannot speak out for themselves. So whatever for animals, plastic smells like food, it tastes like food, and it looks like food. So they'll leave food and they'll go for plastic. And it's not just the plastic and all the toxins, they lead to, you know, they eventually it leads to choking or starvation because it lines the intestines. And then all the toxic chemicals that are in that waste, they enter their body tissues, they enter their muscles, their milk, their bones, and their, you know, you know, and their body excreta. And eventually, what goes around comes around. See? So whatever we throw out in the form of garbage comes back in our plates as disease, because eventually, obviously, these animals are part of our food chain as well. So other problems associated with waste are obviously, you know, the urban flooding. I don't know you're familiar with this, but we are very familiar with every monsoon. We have one new story in one new city. So these are just a few examples which I just wanted to share again. Most of the waste that we throw out, it you know, it's not on the land, it's in the oceans. And we have what we do is we it creates the huge dumps in the ocean, as well as it causes the leads to the dead zone in the ocean as well. So of all the things in these dumps, whether it is on the land or the ocean, the worst is the plastic. And as earlier speakers mentioned, the microplastic is a new hazard, as Dr. Jane discovered that in the sea salt as well. So microplastics have entered our food chain, not just from the plastic bottles and the plastic shoppers and debris. They also enter our food chain through our everyday use, you know, everyday use household things and the clothes that we wear. For example, you know, all the cosmetics, the microbead face washes and toothpaste and whatnot. And the fleece, I think everyone wears fleece these days because they're very easy to handle. So they're made of 100% plastic, and every time you wash fleece, you release hundreds, thousands, and millions of microplastics in the water. So, and all the, you know, everything almost we wear, all our upholstery, you know, all these curtains, those seat cover, this carpet, this is all 100% polyester. They all release microplastic when they're washed, and even when they're not washed, these are released into the air. And so we are constantly breathing or, you know, drinking and whatnot. So according to United Nations, more than 80% of tap water and more than 90% of bottled water contains microplastic. And sorry, so it has entered our food chain and now it's part of our bodies. I think all of us, if we get tested, our body fluids will contain this. And it's not just us, it's even those who are yet to born. So microplastics have been discovered in placenta, in, you know, breast milk, and you name a tissue, I think, whatever tissue is being sampled, we find microplastics in there. So having said that, we believe that zero waste offers a very potential way to, you know, to solve many of the problems that we're seeing these days associated with waste. And I'll not repeat what zero waste means, obviously, but it has become a global movement now. And everybody is a stakeholder, including us, the academic institutions. So what role academic institutions have in this? Academic institutions are believed to be, you know, kind of small cities and small municipalities which produce waste as the cities would do. So so the waste we produce is often it's often hazardous as well. If you're, you know, medical universities, if you're like, I think your university as well. So so we must respond to these environmental challenges as our social and environmental responsibility, which comes under the umbrella of social accountability. And what are the other ways that universities and academic institutions can, you know, what other ways we can contribute? So we need to cut down the waste we produce by adopting zero waste, which is obviously a sustainable waste management way. Then we can introduce changes into curriculum, which we've been hearing about today in the morning session as well, and in the session in the same room before this session as well. And then it can be added into the criteria for quality assurance and program evaluation. So your students, you might not be as familiar, but your faculty knows that if we introduce these and as a criteria of evaluation and quality enhancement, then universities and institutions are very, very conscious, and they make sure that they fulfill those criteria. So we can have these embedded in those criteria. And then obviously research universities, they are center of research generation and community engagement, as our earlier speakers mentioned examples as well. So universities can be agent of change for the wider community. And collaborations are, again, I think there's most potential in collaborations, and there's no and as compared to competition. And advocacy, through these collaborations, we can do advocacy, and we can reach out to all the other stakeholders when it comes to zero waste. So I don't have time, but I would have loved to share examples. I'm sure you're aware of many such examples. Academic institutions have huge potential to make change. And there's just few examples, like in America, Recycle Mania has turned into, campus race to zero waste, and just something which started from few institutions, spread to the whole country, and it inspires other institutions to follow it. And then Nexus and Isaac is an initiative by Dr. Atiq, who's our first speaker, and he'll be able to talk more about it. And then the others, I think I'll just skip the slide because I'm seeing the notices. Okay, so I'll just come to skip those and come to NUM's experience. So we wanted to we aspire to do it to fulfill our social responsibility. As Hina said, NUMS is a public university. It is one of the largest healthcare providers in Pakistan in terms of patient care, patient load and trajectory. And so we did some research to see how we are generating waste. So I'm not talking about the whole NUMS, all the medical colleges, all the hospitals. I'm just talking about our one campus where we did our pilot. So we saw that the amount of waste that we are generating, and it was shocking for us to realize that it is going to open dumps, which are called landfill sites, but they're not landfill sites. There were few landfill sites in our region, in our city. So, so we were sending, in a summary, we were sending 300,000 kgs of waste, not NUMS, the area that NUMS is located in. Just 2,500 housing units in a city of millions is sending 300,000 to the waste dumps every month. So why else was it important for us? Because waste crisis is a bigger threat for Pakistan as compared to the other countries, because Pakistan is one of the most vulnerable countries to the environmental challenges. And we have seen floods cause havoc last year. And then millions of tons of solid waste is generated annually, and most of it ends up in open dumps. And there's growing realization, but in terms of implementation, there are lots of gaps. Not because there's not, will to do it or implement it, but we have our limitations according to the Pakistan country report. Unsustainable production consumption practices, lack of resources, lack of effective waste management system, deficient legal policy frameworks, weak governance, lack of awareness, and collective lack of sense of civic and social responsibility towards this. So this is adding problems. So this is where we think academia can, play their part. So we wanted to play our part to, mobilize and sensitize people towards a social responsibility. So we initiated this back in 2021, just as an awareness session to our faculty initially. That became a trigger to, formation of first environmental committee. This was unlike most institutions which are societies by students. Ours was mostly faculty, and later students joined in as well because that was COVID time. But they joined later. But they were all self-motivated individuals. We all took zero waste pledge, which was later officially adopted by our university. And then we implemented zero waste management and policy. And we had we had our website, and our green office was provided to us. So this is the model of zero waste. And zero waste at NAMS, it has two components. One, which is, a kind of administrative, which is segregation of waste and recycling. This is what the university helps us with, our administration helps us with. And this part is promotion of and behavior change. So for this, we promote 5 Rs. So basically, the waste aim is to minimize waste and then segregate the minimized waste into categories. And our recyclable goes to Green Earth Recycling Factory, which is the only recycling factory in Pakistan which recycles it in an environment-friendly way. Then composting is, I think, one of the major reasons that our waste is reduced. So our 100% of our food waste is composted in our campus. And then obviously we aim to have zero waste sent to landfill. We're not yet there. And these are the 5 Rs that we promote. So reduce, reuse, recycle, you're all familiar with. We keep rot or composting explicitly in our list because otherwise people tend to miss this out. And raising awareness is something which is very important for us because we need to continuously educate ourselves and those around us. So after implementation of this, within 10 months, we were able to reduce the waste we sent to landfills by almost 75%. And if you have a look at it, you can see that most of it is compostable waste, which makes the bulk. It is the waste which makes the bulk in cities, and it is the waste which makes the bulk in our campus. And if you talk about the university as a whole, our paper waste is more, but not our campus. So universities generate more paper waste, but we are paperless more, for the most part. So how we went about it, we used principles, we embedded action research in this project. So we tried to do it, and then we used principles of change management. This is something which was in morning and shared by one of the speakers in the morning, panelists in the plenary as well. And this has been the evidence says that using principle of change management and action can actually help. And so what we did was that we used Cotter's 8 principles as a change management model. So these are the steps. I'll just not go through all of these, but I would like to focus on first two. So first is creating a sense of urgency and forming a powerful coalition. So it is very important to, first make people realize that there's need to change. So we went to, and then to go to initially involve people in position of power. For example, when we initiated, I first went to my head of department, and then when she was on board, we went to the deans, and then we went to the vice chancellor. And so when they were on board and they bought the idea, then rest of the things became easier for us. And then obviously we kept on sharing a sense of urgency. We kept on having more awareness sessions, and we kept on anticipating barriers, and we would devise ways. So we would change our strategy and go for some other strategy. And then short-term wins and end building on a chain. That is where our policy helped us. So implementation of the policy and having website and all that, those helped us anchor change in institutional culture. So this is an ongoing process. This is not, one time, and it's not that it's finished. And in addition to that, we were able to take it out of our campus into our constituents. So we've been to 2 of our constituents so far, one of medical college and our college of nursing. And we have been able to introduce curricular changes in few of our courses so far, but we're aiming for more. And then beyond campus, we've been moved out to our community through a mosque because that can be a powerful source. And in addition to that, we are a member of Zero Waste International Alliance, and we go and take part in internship programs for students other than our university. And FAM has provided us this opportunity. And our next and most important success is we are in last stages of establishment of this national collaboration with leading universities in our country. So you see all the doors there from all the main regions of Pakistan, and we have joined hands to form a national collaboration, academia-led collaboration. You can see that. So which would aim to mobilize the community. So it's for our primary aim. So that is so. So I don't have time for these, but I think you've seen these. So having self-motivated people who not just giving tasks to people, having people who are motivated across disciplines. You do not need to have especially public health experts. It's everybody's, as a stakeholder. And then obviously embedding action research and change management principles, then having leadership on board and their support and walking the talk. We were very particular in role modeling the best practices, like many that, like Dr. Jain shared many. So we were also very particular, and students were not interested in listening to talks like this. So we had to have, different ways to engage them, to competitions and, in other ways. And once they took the ownership, then they led the rest of the journey. So now their student-led events are what are making most impact. And then having university rankings, you know, working toward those benchmarks is helping us, and is keeping it alive, just making sure that it stays alive and it's not forgotten. And collaborations, and I think barriers were there were few barriers, and I just thank you for your time. Read up the slide yourself. Thank you.
So Dr. Atiq and Dr. Aman, thank you so very much for joining in. It was such an insightful session. Thank you once again for being there.
No problem. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone.